Okay, so the first step in me figuring out how these lights and everything are going to work out is I went ahead and looked at a wiring diagram for 68 Charger, see how they had the wires run for the headlights and the high beams. So I just ran a temporary harness based on that diagram to make sure that I was going to get the proper operation based on how I had them wired up to which terminals. So initially that would be turning on the headlights, and then that would be the high beams, which jacks up the low beam bulb to a second filament. So anyway, so I got that. I kind of understand that. Now I have to start working with the mechanism that'll lift and lower the doors to cover the headlights. All right, so here's the linear actuator installed. I've got a bracket here, pretty simple bracket. It's made out of 70,000 steel. It goes along the bottom side. It mounts right where the vacuum pods normally go, with some 1/4-20s and some nylocks and some washers. There's a 3/4 flange that comes over, drops down 3 inches, comes across 1.5 inches, back up 3 inches, and across 3/4 of an inch, with the holes centered up 3/8 of an inch from each end. Then in the center here, I have a number 632 screw that's about looks about 1.25 inches long. It's a bolt, and I have it locked to this little pivot, U-shaped pivot that comes with the linear actuator. And then on the bottom I have another nut here, and on the bottom here, and that's what I use to adjust the closure of the door, because this runs to its full extent and then shuts off, and runs to its full extent and then shuts off. There's no way to adjust the length of the run, so everything has to be set with these brackets. This piece here is the pivot on this rod that normally attaches to the shaft of the vacuum pod. So what I've done here is I've put a 70,000 shim steel in between, where normally you would put the vacuum pod shaft and then you would screw through it. What I've done here is I've taken a 632, about 1.25 inch bolt, and I've put that 632 back from the back side with a washer on the back side, washer on the front, and then I've put some double lock nuts on the front side here in order to stand this off far enough that this tab does not hit the body of this linear actuator. If the tab hits the body of the linear actuator, what happens is the linear actuator keeps running, because it doesn't hit the limit switch that's internal when it runs down to its full run. And then on the other side, I put a double settled nuts here so that I would lock it to the tab. So this is a stud with a standoff, and then it's sent through there and then just nutted on the back side. And so I've got it temporarily hooked up to a window motor here, and a window motor switch, and so I could reverse the polarity of it easily here and just show you how this thing operates. You can see it shut off just before it the last of that little bit of aluminum disappeared. Now it's on the back stroke to close, and that's it. And that's how it works. Okay, I'm going to show you on the front side how this thing looks. Okay, we're on the front side now, so that's that. So on to doing the other side, and then figuring out the relay and all that stuff, and then I'll have to swing the whole operation around to see if I can't connect it to the car and make it work with the electrics in the car. Okay, so I've got this thing wired in with a relay now. No use of me showing you the spaghetti going on the back side. Without a wiring diagram, it won't make any sense. the basic principle is that the relay itself, which I got just clamped up here, it's powered by the battery, so there's always power running to the relay. And then there's another lug that basically connects to your light switch, so that when the light switch is activated, in other words, the power goes to the headlights, what it does is it turns on the relay, and the relay flops to one side. It's got a little solenoid, and that flopping to one side will activate the headlight doors in the up position. Then when you turn the light switch off, it cuts the power to the relay, and then it has a spring on it, and it naturally wants to flop back in the other direction, which reverses the polarity on the motors. And now, since it's always powered, it sends the power to the motors to drop the doors. If you can understand that, I barely understand it. Anyway, let me just demonstrate this how it works. I'm just going to turn the lights on and raise the doors. So then I turn the power off to the lights themselves, but not to power. The power is still to the relay. So I cut the power to the lights, which makes that relay spring back in the other direction and reverses the polarity of the actuators, and that's it. Anyway, now let's see if I can figure out how to wire it to the car. Either that, or I'll just take the horses and everything and just throw it in underneath the hood and just let her eat. All right, so it's a real pain to do this headlight wiring. Can't see in the front of the car, so I've got some temporary bulbs hooked up to the wiring harness the way I need to have them hooked up. So first, you can see I got a Mylar mirror sitting out over there, and so we're going to turn on the headlights first. Well, that's the running lights. And you can see there's a little side marker light sitting up on the fender. I'll turn it off so you can see that again. So that's the side marker light. And that's the running light in the front. And now I'm going to turn on the headlight. That's the headlight. And let's get in here and turn this key on a little bit so I can turn on the high beam. That's the high beam right there. And let's see if we got blinkers here. Let's turn this on here. One more. Okay, you see that little one there? This one here is the one that's going to go up in this little hood slot over here. So that's the blinker. There's a blinker, as you can see, flashing in. Oops, dropped you there. And that's a little blinker going off in the front of the car too. So we got all that good stuff going. Hopefully it doesn't send off a bunch of bells and whistles in the computer. Anyway, we'll keep digging. So I have these 68 turn signal housings here, and I wanted to use the existing turn signal housing that came out of the bulb carrier that came out of the headlights that came with the Challenger, because there's a nice rubber washer here, locks in, then it's a plug and play. The harness is down low where it just plugs right in, so there's no wiring issues down there. So what I first had to do is I had to cut the pattern. You can hardly see it here because there's a bunch of epoxy in the way. I had to cut the pattern for how this locks in. There's a large tab, and then there's two smaller tabs to orient it correctly. So I got a pattern off of the Challenger bulb housing and transferred it to the back of this cast aluminum piece here. And I slowly ground it out till it was the proper clearance. Problem is this is not very thick. This is like 3/32 thick, and I needed a little thicker base for this to be able to lock in. As you can see, there's a little bit of almost about a light eighth of an inch here. Once you compress this rubber washer that's around here. So what I ended up doing was I took some of the panel adhesive and I just built it up on top of this back of this housing here like that, and then I went ahead and then I kind of sanded it and ground it out to the till it was the proper thickness to where I could take the bulb and just stick it in the housing and twist it and turn it, and now it's locked in nice and secure. So that's how I'm solving that problem. So it's time to move on to the next thing. Okay, so I went ahead and did the refurbish on these housings. You know, I added this piece over here. You can see that this is the bulb housing that came off the Challenger. So I've got it mocked up in here, or I've got it fabricated up in here so that this will just pop in and lock in pretty good right here. And we've got a new seal in there for the lens, and got a brand new lens in there, so that should be pretty nice. Same thing over here. I've got my harnesses all finally soldered in. This one goes over to the little side marker light over here, and this is my little jumper that comes off to this is from the headlight power. When the headlights come on, this will end up I'll be mounting the relay somewhere in this area right over here, and that'll power the relay. And these wires are right now just laying up there, and they're going up to the signal lights in the hood on either side. I'll have to once I get these fenders off, I'll run these wires on the bottom side of the fender. It's going to be kind of tricky. Make sure they don't get pinched way back there at the hinge point, because they got to loop around and come inside the hood and get run up into that point there. We'll see how that all goes, but I've got the headlights, the high beams and the low beams wired in. I'm ready for the next step. Okay, so I got a lot of nice colored spaghetti going in here. So basically what I've got now is I've got my relay mounted up over here. I'll have to make a cover for it, kind of make it weatherproof. And I got the wires going out to power and ground over here for the whole mess. Then I've got I use these headlight fittings that came with the headlights. They were extra. Anyway, I use them. I'm going to use them to connect the two motors. Got that labeled, motored. I've got my low beams, and I've got my high beams. I've got my signal lights all wired in. I have to, there's my side marker light. I've got to get this, this harness is for the hood signals. So I've got to get these fenders back off so I can loom those up in behind the fenders so that they peek out, or pop out I should say, way back there at the hinge point. I've got to be careful on this side that I don't get a bind going there between the hinge and everything that's going on in that corner. Same thing over here. I've got my low beams, got my high beams, and this is for the motor to control the doors. And this little lead here is actually the power lead that comes off when the power goes to the headlights. It also goes to the relay to turn the relay on, to turn the motors on. So I'd love to just be able to put this grill back in and see how it all works, but first thing I have to do is take the fenders off and get those wires loomed up there. But also in the meantime, I have a little bit of fit and finish issues with how the fenders fit to the doors, and it has to do with some interferences that are underneath the fenders. So I'm going to take that opportunity to do a little clearance work over there before I put the fenders back on, and we'll go on from there. Alright, just dealing with a bunch of little knickknacks here. Finished welding up this wheel rim here and grinding everything off, cleaning that up. Inside here, what I had to do to stabilize this front fender is this radiator core support has a little attachment point here, and I ran you can hardly see it here. I ran this rod up into here. There's a threaded end over here, and that's bolted there, and then I brought it down to this point here and added a tab right here. As you see, I made it a little too long initially. I'll have to cut that off when I get the fender off. Over here, you can see that I added a plate to here. Again, I'll have to weld this all up once I get the fender off. But this attaches to the back of the front roll pan, and that stabilizes this whole front end, keeps it from wiggling. So I had to do that. I ran some wires. I ran the wires down through the hood, see how that was going to work out. It worked out okay here. I got plenty of space here so I can attach them back here, and they will be out of the way of the hinge, but that side's not going to work out. It's just too close. There's just too many ways to pinch that wire, so I'm going to have to take that wire back out of there and loop it up, come across to this side, drop it back down here, come across, and go all the way over to the other side. Don't want to do that because it's a longer run of wire, but it has to be. It's just not enough room in that. There's too much going on in that corner. Computers and the airbox and the hinge and you name it. Anyways, so I've went ahead and I had to cut the bottom of the fender a little bit more so I could tuck it in. I also made my cut to these rockers were mounted too far forward, so I had to cut the front of the rocker. Again, I'll have to, once I take this apart, I'll be able to go in there and weld that up and clean that up, the front edge of the rocker. I just cut it for now and beat it in, make sure it was aligned. Then I realigned this fender and got a little bit flusher here. This was higher than this, so while this flowed right very nicely into the cowl, I decided to use this as my reference, and I just cut the edge here, just gradually tucked it down a little bit so that it runs into this top of this door a little bit better. This is normally filled in with lead. I just took a piece of sheet metal and filled in this last little remaining area to finish out the inside of the window bed, and also to like I said, fill that in, and I don't have to use any lead in that or body filler to make that connection. On this side here, I'm just getting started on this side here. I have to take this gap and close this gap up over here, and I've decided to, since the door is original door, and this lines up nicely with that door, I'm going to correct this edge of the cowl with some sheet metal. Also, I'm going to bring a patch in here to finish this out over here. I have some issues down here also, and I have to complete this weld up over here, and just a few little things. I've also done the same attachment on this side over here to stabilize the roll pan to the bottom of the fender with that little triangle corner over there. So just a lot of little stuff here that has to be done. I want to get that all done before I put the grill back in, to make sure that the grill's not obstructing anything I have to get to, any wiring or anything that has to be rerouted. Well, the best laid plans, I wanted to get all this metal work done before I put that grill back in, but it looks like I'm running out of welding gas here, so it's going to quit on me any second here, so I'm probably not going to make it all the way to what I have to do. Anywho, this is the this side finished out, the windshield bed, and also this corner tied in, and also you can see that I added some metal in order to tighten up this and make this gap a little bit even. So anyway, thought I'd show you that. Moving on to the next thing. Alright, before I show you the operation of this setup, I just want to let you know that all the parts for this setup, the actuators and the relay and the base and everything like that, is all part of a kit that Dan Peacock is developing for sale. And if you'd like more information, his phone number will be in the description below. Also, Dan's got lots and lots of Mopar stuff, old Mopar stuff, new Mopar stuff. So if you got anything you're searching for, get hooked up with Dan, and he'll help you out. All right, let's see what we got here. show you the blinkers on the hood. And that's about it. Anyway, my main concern with this week was to try and get this all operational, plugged into the car, the wiring harness finished, and everything working from the switch in the car. Got that. I was worried about the interference of possibly the motors, and only on this side here, because everything else is pretty much where the stock location is as far as the fender bracing is concerned relative to a 68 Charger. So my only concern was that water bottle down there, and it's not a problem. And on this side there's nothing to start with. So that's it for this week, and I appreciate everybody watching, and I have to get back to all that little bit of metal work. Pull this grill back out, get it out of the way. It's got a little welding, some cutting to do on these fenders on the top side where the hood's a little close on the front corners. I got to finish out that other side. You can see this side I just hit it with a little flat black primer just to keep it from flash rusting. And so anyway, we'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot for watching.